everyone, it's Michaela, and today I'm going to be showing you the best ways to combat procrastination and have better self-discipline when you're going about doing your work. I've separated it into 4 different pieces so that hopefully it's easier to understand and more convenient to go about doing, so it's less, oh, do these 30 tips, and more follow these 4 guidelines, if that makes sense. So we'll see how this goes. First is to plan accordingly. So when you have a lot of work to do, the last thing you want to do is improvise, because then you might realize last minute that you didn't have time to do something that you thought you'd have time to do. So you really want to have a to-do list, first of all, of your weekly things that you need to do, appointments, meetings, class times, whatever it is, and then also have a daily to-do list. And the reason I think it's best to distinguish the two is if you only use a weekly to-do list, then you might end up having too many expectations for yourself that you're not able to follow through with. Whereas if you have a daily to-do list, it's more reasonable and you can actually get everything done in one day. It's a bit disheartening if you're only using a weekly to-do list, because then you cross 3 things off of 21 and you feel like you didn't get enough done, when in reality you're doing all you need to be doing for one day. Once you have your daily to-do list created, then the next step is to make a timetable from this. So you want to list out all of the things you need to do during the day, and then also estimate how long each thing is going to take to do. Though you want to get the most urgent, important things done first, I would recommend getting done the tedious tasks that take like 10 minutes or less earliest in the day. Let's say on your to-do list you have about 5 work projects that take 30 minutes each, and you also have to take out the trash and return bottles to the recycling center. Get those 2 menial tasks done first, because they're really quick and you're going to be able to just take them off your mind, and then you can focus better on the important things that you need to be doing. If you can create a neat schedule and a timetable and a to-do list, this means you're going to be organized, and already you're taking steps to combat procrastination because you're preparing for what's to come and you're not just going about it with no plan in mind. The next step is probably a bit obvious. If you want to beat procrastination, you have to start your work. So starting, I think, is a step in itself, because it really is hard to get motivated sometimes to actually begin. It's the effort of getting up and stopping what you're doing to go sit down and focus, knowing what's ahead of you, knowing what's on your plate. That's the hardest part. So I think that you should be really taking the time to start effectively. If you start effectively, then you're going to follow through. Whereas if you kind of half-heartedly start, you may not finish. I think it's best to declutter your work area, your study area, wherever you're working, and make sure there are no distractions there. Yes, this is very difficult to do, I've found, because I need my phone sometimes when I'm working, like if I need to Google something quickly or I need to reach out to someone with a question. But if you're able to, shut off your phone, or at the very least, put it on the other side of the room, because it's really tempting when you're sitting for 30 seconds and you can't think properly to just go and pick up your phone and start browsing through social media. I do it all the time. So just get rid of that distraction altogether and put it on the other side of the room, and if you can, shut it off. Same with using a laptop. It's really easy to just open up a new tab and browse on YouTube or whatever. If you can, just limit yourself to that one tab that you need to use and don't open up any others. Once you have a work area ready to go, another thing that's a really good idea to do is to have a list of goals, which is slightly different from a to-do list, and I will explain that. Goals can be less tangible. So you can make a list of things that you want to accomplish today, obviously like chores and work projects, but also how you want to feel about the day after, how many hours of work you'd like to put in. A goal list is just a lot more ambiguous, and it'll give you something to work towards. It gives you something to aim for during the day, and it's kind of the light at the end of the tunnel. Like, if I do this right now, I can work towards the goals that I wrote down. If you do these things, then once you begin working, you're more likely to actually continue working. And I think that if you just try to sit down and start working without actually prepping or making a plan or creating a nice study area, then you're much more likely to just give up, because it's just going to feel messy and disorganized and like pandemonium. So yeah, definitely make sure you don't skimp on the prep work that comes with self-discipline. Now, part 3 is when you're actually working. So how do you make sure that you continue working and not stop during your project to go do something else that's completely unrelated to the task at hand? Foremost, I want to address music. I think that using music with words in it can be very distracting, because in your mind is trying to process the lyrics whilst also trying to think about what you need to be writing or saying or typing. So I would only use music with words if you're doing like an art project or something, where the words that you're listening to aren't going to distract from what you're actually doing at hand. And then also, there are 3 types of music that I think would work best. No matter what you're doing, I think that they help to promote motivation and foster a sense of productivity. First, that is classical music, whether it's soundtracks or Beethoven. This is really widely known, I think, as inspirational to listen to as you're working. Second is ambiance. So kind of like right now, I'm actually feeling quite motivated just because it's raining outside and it's been pattering on my skylight all day. It's just a very nice sound. So whether it's wind or storms, rain, ambiance can really help as well. And third, music that's in a different language. I have an entire playlist of music that has songs in Russian, French, Spanish, Mandarin. They're usually like folk songs, raw instruments and raw singing in a different language, because then I'm not picking up on their words. I don't know what they're saying. So it allows me to focus while also being able to hear their voices sing, which is a nice combination, and I think more people should try it. It works a lot better, especially if you're a person that's not a fan of classical music. Okay, the last part is working effectively when you're not working, which sounds very contradictory. But what I mean by this is, once you finish your actual work for the day, don't just stop there, because you're less likely to appreciate what you've done and therefore more likely to not do it properly the next time. And I want to go into a bit more detail on this because it sounds very vague when I say it like that. Let's say that I've been working for 8 hours and I've been studying all day. As soon as I'm done, let's say I go and just watch television for a few hours and I just ignore my to-do list, I didn't cross anything off. I'm going to leave the day just feeling exhausted and drained. So I think the best thing for you to do is, once you're done, go through your to-do list and cross off everything you did, because it really does lend a feeling of satisfaction, and you don't want to take away from that by just not doing it altogether. Also, if you really do like crossing off tasks, even put on fun tasks onto your list. So whether you like giving the dogs a walk or just even eating lunch, put those down so that way you can cross off more during the day, and it's going to make you feel more productive. If you want to have a motivated mindset, you have to cultivate that during the day as well. So rather than just having a lot of screen time during the day, which I'm not saying is bad because I do it too, just also make sure to spend time doing things like reading, because reading helps you develop those analytical skills while also enjoying a good book. If you can find hobbies that use skills such as that, rather than just doing nothing, it'll help you to develop that sort of mindset of focusing and not procrastinating. And then also, you want to probably develop a better schedule in general. So once you're done your work, make sure that you're not neglecting your other habits and routines as well, because routines make something much more likely to happen. If you set it in stone each day, you're going to do it more often than if you just freely try to find time for it whenever. Also, if you can, try to wake up earlier, because if you can get a lot of your work done when the rest of the world is sleeping, it almost feels like bonus time. Like you've gotten stuff done before the day's even started. So I'd highly recommend doing that. I love waking up early. It just makes me feel so much more motivated, and I hate the feeling of sleeping the day away. So if you can, start waking up earlier. Finally, reward yourself. And this works akin to Pavlov's dogs, because they always salivated when they heard a bell, because they're always fed at the ringing of a bell. So if you reward yourself after you work, you're almost training yourself to appreciate the work that you put in, because your body's going to be like, oh, okay, now it's time to relax and reward myself now that I've finished my work, thereby making you much more likely to want to get the work done and making you more self-disciplined. So these 4 components to self-discipline, which is planning, actually starting, focusing, and then the afterwards sort of work that's not work putting in, if you can do all 4 of these, it's going to make you so much more motivated, it's going to help you to procrastinate less, and you're just going to be a much more disciplined person. So if you can, try out some of these things, and hopefully they work out for you. That is all. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you'd like to. Also, drop a like, again, only if you want to, and then have a great rest of your week, and I hope that you have a lovely day.